न कर्हिचिन् मत्पराः शान्तरूपे नक्ष्यन्ति नो मे निमिषो लेढिहेति येषामहं प्रियात्मा सुतश्च सखा गुरु सुहृदो दैवमिष्टम्. The Lord continued, my dear mother, devotees who receive such transcendental opulences are never bereft of them. Neither weapons nor the change of time can destroy such opulences. Because the devotees accept me as their friend, their relative, their son, preceptor, benefactor, and supreme deity, they cannot be deprived of their possessions at any time. ननु एवं तर्हि लोकत्व विशेषात् स्वर्गादिवत् भोक्तृभोग्यानां कदाचित् विनाशः स्यात्. Because both are worlds. Swarga is a world, Vaikuntha is a world, both are worlds. And there's no distinction as such, because both are worlds where souls live. There is always a possibility that the bhoktas and the bhogyas, the enjoyers and the objects of enjoyment, would be subject to destruction, like in Swarga and so on. Anticipating this, Lord Kapila speaks the current verse. Shantam, avikritam rupam, yasya, tasmin malloke. The nature of my world is that it is shanta. It is not subject to degrading transformations. So he has interpreted Shanta Rupe not to mean, oh, my dear mother who is peaceful, who is a very form of peace, but rather with reference to the world of Vaikuntha as that which is the very form of peace. Matparaha, tadvasinha lokaha. Those who are absorbed in me, meaning those who are residing in that Vaikuntha. Katachidapi na nangshyanti, bhogyahina na bhavanti. They never perish. That means they are never devoid of the objects of happiness. Animisha me hetihi, madiyam kalachakram, naha ledhi tan nagrasati. The wheel of time that is under my control does not destroy them, does not literally, does not have any power over them. Na satna vartate iti shrutehe, because the Shruti clearly says in Chandogya Upanishad 8.15.1, he does not return, the liberated soul does not return. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravatin arjuna. Mamupeti tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate iti Gita. And in Bhagavad Gita 8.16 also, Gita Upanishad also says that one who attains to my abode, he does not return. Sahasranama bhashyepi param utkrishtam mayanam sthanam punar akritti shankarahitam iti parayana padam vyakhyatam. In Shankar, even in Shankaracharya's commentary to Vishnu Sahasranama, we find the name of Lord Vishnu, Parayana, interpreted to mean that Supreme Lord who is the most exalted abode, who possesses the most exalted abode, who is himself non-different from that, and from whom there is no fear of returning to this material existence. Yesha mahapriya iti prayasi bhavavatam. And then when he says, for them, I am the dearmost. Here means dearmost object of conjugal love. So this is a reference to those in Madhurya relationship with the Lord. Atmayati Shanta Bhaktanam. I am this very self or the very soul for, I am the Priya or most beloved husband or conjugal lover for some. I am the very self of some others. Now, who are these some others? These some others are those who are Shanta Bhaktas, who are devotees in Shanta. Sutaha iti Vatsalya Bhavavatam. I am the son. I am the son of those who are in Vatsalya Rasa, Prema Bhakti Rasa. Sakha iti Sakhyavatam. I am the friend for those in Sakhya Prema Bhakti Rasa. Guruhu. I am the preceptor. I am the authority. Iti Dasya Visheshavatam. I am the guru for those in a certain type of dasya, prema bhakti rasa. Sukhrita iti bahutvam asham sakhya bhedavata. I am the benefactor, I am the well-wisher, Sukrit, for those who belong to a certain subdivision of Sakhya Prema Bhakti. Ishtam Daivam iti dasya bhavavata. I am the chosen deity, the supreme deity, the worshipable deity of those in Dasya Prema Bhakti. Tathacha Uttam Narayana Vyuhastave. And that is stated in Narayana Vyuhastava. Pati Putra Sukrit Bhratri Pitruvan Mitravad Dharim Ye Dhyayanti Sadodyuktas Tebhyo Piha Namo Namaha Iti. We also offer a respectful obeisances to those who constantly meditate upon Lord Hari as their husband, son, well-wisher, brother, father, friend, and who are appropriately engaged according to those moods. We also offer the obeisances unto them. Yamme Vaishya Vinate Tena Labhyah Ityasya Shrutehe Api. Shruti also says, I can be attained, the Supreme Soul can be attained by those whom he chooses. And then he explains it. Yam Priyatvena va Pitratvena Bhatratvena va Sakhitvena va Putra Bhritya Aditvena va Vrinutte. Tena labhyah iti arthaha veditavyah iti raganugaya swabhavikyah bhaktehe udaharanam gyeyam. He whom he chooses, he whom he accepts, it means he can be attained by those who accept him as the object of conjugal love, as and so on. So in other words, whoever he accepts according to the mood, in the mood of priyatva, conjugal love, pitritva, patsalya, bhratratva, brotherly love, sakhitva, friendly affection. Similarly, putra, bhritya, and so on, with all these attitudes. Corresponding to that attitude, he is accepted. This is the meaning that should be understood. This is understood to be an illustration, an example, proof for the natural or spontaneous devotion that is Raganuga Bhakti. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that one may elevate himself to the higher planetary systems, even up to Brahmaloka, by dint of pious activities. But when the effects of such pious activities are finished, one again comes back to this earth to begin a new life of activities. Thus, even though one is promoted to the higher planetary system for enjoyment and a long duration of life, still that is not a permanent settlement. But as far as the devotees are concerned, their assets, the achievement of devotion service, and the consequent opulence of Vaikuntha, even on this planet, are never destroyed. In this verse, Kapila Deva addresses his mother as Shantarupa. Shantarupa is a source for the word Shantarupe. Shantarupa is also the source for the word Shantarupe. If it is taken as Shantarupa, converted into Shantarupe, then it refers to the Vaikuntha world. If if Shantarupe is understood to be coming from Shantarupa, then it means Kapila is calling his mother as Shantarupa. Oh, my mother, who is peaceful. Indicating that the opulences of devotees are fixed because the devotees are eternally fixed in the Vaikuntha atmosphere, which is called Shantarupa, because it is in the mode of pure goodness, undisturbed by the modes of passion and ignorance. That is right. Jiva Goswami is also interpreted Shantarupa like this. Sanatana Goswami is interpreted Shantarupa as my dear mother, whose very form is peaceful. These two meanings. Jiva Goswami gives both meanings. Shantarupa, oh my dear mother, who's peaceful in nature. Yadva, alternate will be Shanta, refers to Shuddha Sattva. Tadrupe Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha has the nature of, is peaceful by nature because it is Shuddha Sattva by nature. Straight derived from that. Okay, fine. I think the transcript needs to be corrected. In this verse, Kapila Deva addresses Mother as Shanta Rupe, which also indicates that the opulences of devotees are fixed, because devotees are eternally fixed in the Vaikuntha atmosphere, which is called Shantarupa, because it is the mode of pure goodness, undisturbed by the modes of passion and ignorance. Once one is fixed in the devotional service of the Lord, his position of divine transcendental service cannot be destroyed. The pleasure and service simply increase unlimitedly. For the devotees engaged in Krishna consciousness in the Vaikuntha atmosphere, there is no influence of time. That means there is no influence of the destructive force of time. In the material world, the influence of time destroys everything. But in the Vaikuntha atmosphere, there is no influence of time or of the demigods, because there are no demigods in the Vaikuntha planets. Yeah. Like we have here. Here, our activities are controlled by different demigods. Even if we move our hand and leg, the action is controlled by the demigods. But in the Vaikuntha atmosphere, there's no influence of the demigods or of time. Therefore, there is no question of destruction. When the time element is present, there is the certainty of destruction. But when there is no time element, past, present, or future, then everything is eternal. Therefore, this verse uses the words nanangshyanti. Nanangshyanti. What does nanangshyanti mean? It means indicating that the transcendental opulences will never be destroyed. The reason for freedom from destruction is also described. The devotees accept the Supreme Lord as the most dear personality and reciprocate with him in different relationships. Tatra hetuhu, Srila Swami clearly says. The reason why the devotees do not lose all these opulences is because of that. Tatra hetu. Sanatana Goswami also says. Okay. Question? What is this? Yes.
So the movement of hands and legs are controlled by demigods. So
Mm.
how to understand this?
Wait, what is the problem in there? Hands and legs are working according to the laws of nature. The laws of nature implemented by particular demigods. That's all.
So practically anything to understand.
Demigods are simply agents who implement the laws of nature. That is these demigods. Just like in any government, laws are implemented, enforced. So the demigods are Lord Vishnu's law enforcing agency. So they ensure that nature acts in a particular way. Okay. The reason for freedom from destruction is also described. The devotees accept the Supreme Lord as the most dear personality and reciprocate with him in different relationships. They accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the dearmost friend, the dearmost relative, the dearmost son, the dearmost preceptor, the dearmost well-wisher, or the dearmost deity. Notice everywhere he is the dearmost. The Lord is eternal. Therefore, any relationship in which we accept him is also eternal. It is clearly confirmed herein that the relationships can never be destroyed. And therefore, the opulences of those relationships are never destroyed. Yeah. That means the opulences connected to those relationships are never destroyed. Every living entity has a propensity to love someone. We can see that if someone has no object of love, he generally directs his love to a pet animal like a cat or a dog. Thus, the eternal propensity for love in all living entities is always searching for a place to reside. From this verse, we can learn that we can love the Supreme Personality of Godhead as our dearmost object, as a friend, as a son, as a preceptor, or as a well-wisher, and there will be no cheating and no end to such love. We shall eternally enjoy the relationship with the Supreme Lord in different aspects. A special feature of this verse is the acceptance of the Supreme Lord as the Supreme Preceptor. Bhagavad Gita was spoken directly by the Supreme Lord, and Arjuna accepted Krishna as Guru or spiritual master. Similarly, we should accept only Krishna as a supreme spiritual master. This is the point that Prabhupada often brings up. Okay, another question.
Yeah, Prabhupada is writing for this is for common people that everyone should accept Supreme Lord as a son, friend, or well-wisher.
Where does he say everyone should accept him? We should develop love for him.
Just like here he's saying, eternal propensity for love in all living entities always reside, searching for a place to reside.
Yes.
So generally, when we say this to general people, so they may say that it is impersonal, it is not personal. No,
How
there
can
will
it
be
be?
no reciprocation.
No, no, no. First, you become qualified to reciprocate with him, and then you love.
Okay, that is
Yeah, obviously.
means first you become a devotee, then you will reciprocate.
Of course. Krishna, of course, means Krishna and his confidential devotees. Krishna is not alone when we speak of Krishna. Krishna means Krishna in his name, in his form, in his qualities, in his abode, and in his associates. Krishna is never alone, for the devotees of Krishna are not impersonalists. For example, a king is always associated with his secretary, his commander, his servant, and so much paraphernalia. As soon as we accept Krishna and his associates as our preceptors, no ill effects can destroy our knowledge. In the material world, the knowledge which we acquire may change because of the influence of time, but nevertheless, the conclusions received from Bhagavad Gita, directly from the speeches of the Supreme Lord Krishna, can never change. There is no use interpreting Bhagavad Gita, it is eternal. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, should be accepted as one's best friend. He will never cheat. He will always give his friendly advice and friendly protection to the devotee. If Krishna is accepted as a son, he will never die. Here we have a very loving son or child, but the father and mother or those who are affectionate towards him always hope, may my son not die. But Krishna actually never will die. Therefore, those who accept Krishna or the Supreme Lord as their son will never be bereft of their son. In many instances, devotees have accepted the deity as a son. In Bengal, there are many such instances, and even after the death of the devotee, the deity performs the Shraddha ceremony for the father. The relationship is never destroyed. People are accustomed to worship different forms of demigods, but in Bhagavad Gita, such a mentality is condemned. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to worship only the Supreme Personality of Godhead in its different forms, such as Lakshmi Narayana, Sitaram, and Radha Krishna. Thus, one will never be cheated. By worshipping the demigods, one may elevate himself to the higher planets. But during the dissolution of the material world, the deity and the abode of the deity will be destroyed. But one who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead is promoted to the Vaikuntha planets, where there is no influence of time, destruction, or annihilation. The conclusion is that the time influence cannot act upon devotees who have accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as everything. 39 to 40. Imam lokam tathaiva amam atmanam upayayinam. Atmanam mani ye cheha ye raya pashuvo griha. विसृज्य सर्वान् अन्यांश्च मामेवं विश्वतो मुखं भजन्त्यनन्यया भक्त्या तान्मृत्योरतिपारये. Thus the devotee who worships me, the all-pervading Lord of the universe, in unflinching devotional service, gives up all aspirations to be promoted to heavenly planets or to become happy in this world with wealth, children, cattle, home, or anything in relationship with the body. I take him to the other side of birth and death. Aswabhavikyah sadhana bhakterudaharanamahadvabhyam. Now, in two verses, he gives an instance of sadhana bhakti that is not natural. In two verses, he gives this illustration. Imam drishta bhoga asakyam, amum adrishta bhoga asakyam, ubhayayenam, tad ubhayagaminam atmanam iti ahanta aspade bhaktarecha asakyam visrijya इति यथैव भोगादि आसक्तिः भोगादि प्रशंसा गम्या तथैव तत्तद् आसक्ति त्यागस् तत्तद् निन्दागम्य इति. So these devotees, they give up the attachment for enjoyment that is seen. Now, this is a technical expression, drishta. Drishta literally means seen, but in the philosophical context of Vedanta Darshan, it means visible enjoyment. Enjoyment that you can actually experience in this lifetime. So giving up the desire for enjoyments that can be experienced in this lifetime and giving up enjoyments that can be experienced in a later lifetime, the next life or or later life. And on top of it, to give up attachment for the basis for everything, for both types of desires, which is one's own self-identification with the body. After giving up all this also, that means just as experience of enjoyment can be glorified, similarly, giving up the attachment for that kinds of enjoyment can be criticized also. Yathoktam jushamanas chitan kaman dukhodar kamsya garhayan iti. So the idea is that in the 11th canto we will come across Lord Krishna describing the bhakti yogi, that even though he is engaged in sinless material enjoyment, he condemns it, he criticizes it. तथा आत्मानम् अनु लक्ष्यीकृत्य ये पुत्र कलत्र आदयः ये च व्यावहारिक रय प्रभृतयः. रायः धनानि विश्वतोमुखं ये यस्यां दिशि यान्ति तत्रैव अहं तेषाम् अभिमुख एव वर्ते इति अर्थः. So such a devotee, he gives up the desire to become happy in this world with sons, wives, wealth, different forms of wealth, all of which are part of this conventional transactional world of our immediate material experience. And he worships me uh, he worships me who am the all-pervading Lord of the universe. Why does he use this expression? So Chakravarti Thakur says, this is because wherever he goes, he sees me right in front of him. Because he is engaged in pure devotional service to me. He is conscious of me in all directions, everywhere. Therefore, for me, he appears as Vishwato Mukham, the all-pervading Lord of the universe. Ananyaya, Devatantra Bhakti Jnana Karma Adi Shunyaya. Ananyaya indicates that he engages in unflinching devotional service to the Lord. And unflinching means devoid of any activity, including devotional service to any other worshipable deity other than Vishnu, the process of jnana, the process of karma, and so on. Mrityo, samsara sindhoh ati paraye. Bhakti matra abhilashittvena samsara param anikshatah api tan atikramya paraye param prapayami. So I take him to the other side of birth and death. Which this other side of birth and death means other side of the ocean of the cycle of birth and death. I take him. This indicates that this person only hankers for engaging in devotional service to me. He does not actually have a desire to get out of the cycle of birth and death. But I take him out. Iti tam evam agyapayitva eva. No, agyapayitva iva ityartha. Yaduktam cheretyashaya kosham ityadi. So I give them the permission to move out of material existence. This has already been indicated. 3.23. Unflinching devotional service as described in these two verses means engaging oneself in full Krishna consciousness or devotional service, accepting the Supreme Lord as all in all. Since the Supreme Lord is all-inclusive, if anyone worships him with unflinching faith, he has automatically achieved all other opulences and performed all other duties. The Lord promises herein that he takes his devotee to the other side of birth and death. Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended that one who aspires to go beyond birth and death should have no material possessions. This means that one should not try to be happy in this world or to be promoted to the heavenly world, nor should he try for material wealth, children, houses, or cattle. How liberation is imperceptibly achieved by a pure devotee and what the symptoms are have been explained. For the conditioned soul, there are two statuses of living. One status is in this present life, and the other is our preparation for the next life. If I am in the mode of goodness, then I may be preparing for promotion to the higher planets. If I am in the mode of passion, then I shall remain here in a society where activity is very prominent. And if I am in the mode of ignorance, I may be degraded to animal life or a lower grade of human life. But for a devotee, there is no concern for this life or the next life. Because in any life, he does not desire elevation in material prosperity or a high grade or low grade life. He prays to the Lord. My dear Lord, it does not matter where I am born, but let me be born even as an ant in the house of a devotee. The pure devotee does not pray to the Lord for liberation from this material bondage. Actually, the pure devotee never thinks that he is fit for liberation. Considering his past life and his mischievous activities, he thinks that he is fit to be sent to the lowest region of hell. If in this life I'm trying to become a devotee, this does not mean that in many In my many past lives, I was 100% pious. Uh, that is not possible. A devotee is therefore always conscious of his real position. Only by his full surrender to the Lord, by the Lord's grace, are his sufferings made shorter. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto me and I will give you protection from all kinds of sinful reaction. That is his mercy. But this does not mean that one who has surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord has committed no misdeeds in his past life. A devotee always prays, for my misdeeds may I be born again and again. But my only prayer is that I may not forget your service. The devotee has that much mental strength. When he prays to the Lord, may I be born again and again. But let me be born in the home of a pure devotee so that I may again get a chance to develop myself. A pure devotee is not anxious to elevate himself in his next birth. He has already given up that sort of hope in any life in which one is born as a householder or even as an animal. One must have some children, some resources, or some possessions. But a devotee is not anxious to possess anything. He is satisfied with whatever is obtainable by God's grace. He is not at all attached to improving his social status or improving the status of the education of his children. He is not neglectful, he is dutiful, but he does not spend too much time on the upliftment of temporary household or social life. He fully engages in the service of the Lord, and for other affairs, he simply spares as much time as absolutely necessary. Yatharham upayunjataha. Such a pure devotee does not care for what is going to happen in the next life or in this life. He does not care even for family, children, or society. He fully engages in the service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that without the knowledge of the devotee, the Lord arranges for him to be immediately transferred to the Lord's transcendental abode just after he leaves his body. Tesham aham samudharta. After quitting his body, he does not go into the womb of another mother. The ordinary common living entity after death is transferred to the womb of another mother, but according to his karma or activities, to take another type of body. But as far as the devotee is concerned, he is at once transferred to the spiritual world with the association of the Lord. That is the Lord's special mercy. How it is possible is explained in the following verses. Because he is all powerful, the Lord can do anything and everything. He can excuse all sinful reactions. He can immediately transfer a person to Vaikuntha Lokam. That is the inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of God, who is favorably disposed to the pure devotees. So this is the power of pure sadhana bhakti, even if it is not on the spontaneous platform. 41. नान्यत्र मद भगवतः प्रधान पुरुषेश्वरात् आत्मनः सर्वभूतानां भयं तीव्रं निवर्तते. The terrible fear of birth and death can never be forsaken by anyone who resorts to any shelter other than myself. For I am the Almighty Lord, the Supreme Personality of God, the original source of all creation, and also the Supreme Soul of all souls. Mad bhaktim vinatu na eva nistaraha ityaha. But without engaging in devotional service to me, there is no deliverance. Mattah anyatra mam vina iti mad bhaktim vina iti artha. It cannot, this terrible fear can never be forsaken by anyone who resorts to any other shelter other than myself. This means, unless one takes shelter of devotion service to me, there is no deliverance. Bhakti vishayibhutasya swasya ananta swarupatve api visheshana trayena puru puru mukhyani sevya rupani kanichit suchayati. Even though the object of such devotion service is the Lord Himself, and He has unlimited forms and personalities. Through three adjectives, each earlier one being superior, he gives an indication about some of these forms. Bhagavan Prathamatah Purnaha Shri Krishna Eva. First of all, he refers to himself as Bhagavataha. Bhagavataha is derived from Bhagavan. Bhagavan refers to the complete form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna himself. Tataha Sri Ramaha, Pradhana Purusheshwaraha, Paravyomanathaha. Then it refers to Pradhana Purusheshwara, which is derived from Pradhana Purusheshwara, which refers to Lord Sri Rama, the Lord of the spiritual sky. Tataha Atma, then he refers to himself as Atmanaha. Atmanaha can refer to himself as Supreme Soul, the Paramatma. Tataha Atma Prakriti Antaryami, Samashti Antaryami cha iti Purushatrayam. So this Atma or Paramatma refers to the super soul of Prakriti, the super soul of all the universes, the super soul of the individual universes, the individual embodied souls. Refers to the three Purushavatars, Purushavataraha, Matsya Kurmadayaha, Vidyeyaha. It also includes incarnations such as Matsya, Kurma, and so on. He is the soul of all living beings. That is this Paramatma feature. The soul also indicates is very dear to all living beings, which is a reference to these incarnations, who repeatedly comes here to attract these conditioned souls. It is indicated herein that the cycle of birth and death cannot be stopped unless one is a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. It is said, Harim Vinanam Rajim Taranti. One cannot surpass the cycle of birth and death unless one is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The same concept is confirmed here with. One may take to the system of understanding the absolute truth by one's own imperfect sensory speculation. Or one may try to realize itself by the mystic yoga process. But whatever one may do, unless he comes to the point of surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no process can give him liberation. One may ask if this means that those who are undergoing so much penance and austerity but strictly following rules and regulations are endeavoring in vain. The answer is given by Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Brahma and other demigods prayed to the Lord when Krishna was in the womb of Devaki. My dear lotus-eyed Lord, there are persons who are puffed up with the thought that they have become liberated or one with God or have become God. But in spite of thinking in such a puffed up way, their intelligence is not laudable. Not laudable means not praiseworthy. They are less intelligent. It is stated that their intelligence, whether high or low, is not even purified. In purified intelligence, a living entity cannot think otherwise than to surrender. Bhagavad Gita therefore confirms that purified intelligence arises in the person of a very wise man. Bakunam janmanam ante gyanavan mam prapadyate. After many, many births, one who is actually advanced in intelligence surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. Without the surrendering process, one cannot achieve liberation. The Bhagavatam says, those who are simply puffed up, thinking themselves liberated by some non-devotional process, are not polished or clear in intelligence, for they have not yet surrendered unto you. This is a paraphrase of that same verse, in spite of executing all kinds of austerities and penances, or even arriving at the brink of spiritual realization and Brahman realization, they think that they are in the effulgence of Brahman. But actually, because they have no transcendental activities, they fall down to material activities. One should not be satisfied simply with knowing that one is Brahman. He must engage himself in the service of the Supreme Brahman, that is Bhakti. The engagement of Brahman should be the service of Parabrahman. It is said that unless one becomes Brahman, one cannot serve Brahman. The Supreme Brahman is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the living entity is also Brahman. Without realization that he is Brahman, spirit soul, and eternal servitor of the Lord, if one simply thinks that he is Brahman, his realization is only theoretical. He has to realize and at the same time engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. Then he can exist in the Brahman status. Otherwise, he falls down. The Bhagavatam says that because Non-devotees neglect the transcendental loving service of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. Their intelligence is not sufficient, and therefore these persons fall down. Avishuddha buddhayaha. The living entity must have some activity. If he does not engage in the activity of transcendental service, he must fall down to material activity. As soon as one falls down to material activity, there is no rescue from the cycle of birth and death by itself. From within the cycle of birth and death, there is no arrangement to get out of it. It is stated here by Lord Kapila, without my mercy, Nanyatra Mad Bhagavataha. The Lord is stated here to be Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of God, indicating that he is full of all opulences and is therefore perfectly competent to deliver one from the cycle of birth and death. He's also called Pradhana because he is the supreme. He's favorable, he is equal to everyone, but one who surrenders to him, he is especially favorable. It is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord is equal to everyone. No one is his enemy and no one is his friend. But that to one who surrenders unto him, he is especially inclined. By the grace of the Lord, simply by surrendering unto him, one can get out of this cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, one may go on in many, many lives and many, many times attempt other processes for liberation. 42. Madbhayad vati vatoyam suryastapati madbhayad vashiti indro dahatyagne mrityushcharati madbhayad. This is all direct paraphrase of something stated in the Upanishads. It is because of my supremacy that the wind blows out of fear of me, the sun shines out of fear of me, and the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth showers out of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me, and death goes about taking its toll out of fear of me. Nanu, Anyaya Bhaktya iti tvaya uktam, ataha अन्ये खलु असेविताः देवाः उप्यन्तः त्वद्भक्तं कदाचित् दुःखयन्ति न वा इति तत्र स आटोपमाः. So you say objection, an anticipated objection or a question. You have said that there are those who serve you through exclusive devotion service. But then there are others, the devas. Now, if one does not serve the devas, will they not be angry with your devotee and give trouble to them in some manner? Will they not give any distress to them? So then the Supreme Lord says, with pride, he says, no. All these people, they do their work simply out of fear of me. Shrutischa, Shruti itself says, Bhishasmad vatah pavate, Bhishode Surya, Bhishasmad Agnischandrascha Mrityurdhavati Panchamaha. It is out of fear of Brahman that the wind blows. It is out of fear of Brahman that the sun rises. It is out of fear of this Brahman that fire, that is the moon, and the fifth one, Mrityu, death, chases everyone. Tena, yeti kamapi te mad bhaktam kadachitapi dunvanti. Dunvanti is correct spelling? Yes. So, if at all they were to give any trouble to my devotee, tada tam tat tat adhikaradapi adhpatayitum naivaham vilambe iti bhava. Then I do not delay in throwing them off their posts, these demigods. if they were to give trouble to any of my devotees who do not worship them and simply want to worship me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the natural laws being enacted are correct in all activities because of his superintendence. No one should think that nature is working automatically without superintendence. The Vedic literature says that the clouds are controlled by the demigod Indra. Heat is distributed by the sun god. The soothing moonlight is distributed by Chandra. And the air is blowing under the arrangement of the demigod Vayu. But above all these demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the chief living entity. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. Ratha Upanishad 2.2.13. The demigods are also ordinary living entities, but due to their faithfulness, their devotion service attitude, they have been promoted to such posts. These different demigods or directors such as Chandra, Varuna, and Vayu are called Adhikari Devata. Official worshipable deities. The demigods are departmental heads. The government of the Supreme Lord consists not only of one planet or two or three, there are millions of planets and millions of universes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has a huge government and he requires assistance. The demigods are considered as bodily limbs. These are the descriptions of Vedic literature. Under these circumstances, the sun god, the moon god, the fire god, and the air god are working under the direction of the Supreme Lord. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dhakshana Prakriti Suyate Sacharacha. The natural laws are being conducted under his superintendence. Because he is in the background, everything is being performed punctually and regularly. One who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely protected from all other influences. He no longer serves or is obliged to anyone else. Of course, he is not disobedient to anyone, but his full power of thought is absorbed in the service of the Lord. The statements by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kapila that under his direction the air is blowing, the fire is burning, and the sun is giving heat are not sentimental. In first list, may I say that the Bhagavatam devotees create and imagine someone as a Supreme Personality of Godhead and assign qualifications to him. But actually, it is neither an imagination nor an imposition of artificial power in the name of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is said, Bhishasmad Vatah Pavate, Bhishodeti Suryaha. By fear of the Supreme Lord, the wind god and the sun god are acting. Bhishasmad Agnishandrascha, Mrityur Dhavati Panchamaha. Agni, Indra, and Mrityu are also acting under his direction. These are the statements of the Vedas. 43. Jnana Vairagya Yuktena, Bhakti Yogena Yogina, Kshemaya Padamulam Me, Pravishantya Kuto Bhayam. The yogis, equipped with transcendental knowledge and renunciation and engaged in devotion service for their eternal benefit, take shelter of my lotus feet, and since I am the Lord, they are thus eligible to enter into the kingdom of Godhead without fear. Shuddham Bhakti Muktva, Jnanadi Mishram Bhakti Maha Jnaneti. Having stated Shuddha Bhakti, now he begins to talk about Bhakti that is mixed with Jnana and so on. Yes.
So why it is mentioned in the previous sloka that everyone does work out of fear of me? Why they have to fear for the Lord to obey his service?
That means that they are frightened of disobeying him. They're frightened of displeasing him. That is the point. He is absolutely in control of them. So those who give up service to these demigods in order to serve Lord Vishnu, they do not have to be frightened that these demigods might punish them and so on. That is the point. Okay?
Okay.
One who truly wants to be liberated from the entanglement of this material world and go back home, back to God, it is actually a mystic yogi. The words explicitly used here are yuktena bhakti yogena. Those yogis or mystics who engage in devotion service are the first class yogis. The first class yogis, as described in Bhagavad Gita, are those who are constantly thinking of the Lord. Okay, but let me do one thing. This is what 3.25. Bottom 3.25. Advanced view. What do you think? Why am I going to this? No, I don't need this. What do you think? The words explicitly used here are yuktena bhakti yogena, equipped with devotional service. Equipped with devotional service. Those yogis or mystics who engage in devotional service are the first class yogis. The first class yogis, as described in Bhagavad Gita, are those who are constantly thinking of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. These yogis are not without knowledge and renunciation. To become a bhakti yogi means to automatically attain knowledge and renunciation. That is the consequent result of bhakti yoga. In the Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, it is also confirmed that one who engages in the devotional service of Vasudeva, Krishna, has complete transcendental knowledge and renunciation. And there's no explanation for these attainments. That means there's no mundane explanation for these attainments. Ahai to ki. This is all first canto, second chapter. Without reason, they come. Even if a person is completely illiterate, the transcendental knowledge of the scriptures is revealed unto him simply because of his engagement in devotion service, pure devotional service. That is also stated in the Vedic literature. To anyone who has full faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the spiritual master, all the import of the Vedic literatures is revealed. He does not have to seek separately. The yogi who engages in devotional service is full in knowledge and renunciation. That means the pure bhakti yogi. If there is a lack of knowledge and renunciation, it is to be understood that one is not in full devotion service. So if he is not in full devotion service, then he must manually be equipped with the processes of transcendental knowledge and renunciation. And those ones are the ones referred to by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary here. The conclusion is that one cannot be sure of entrance into the spiritual realm in either the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence of the Lord or the Vaikuntha planets within that Brahman effulgence, unless he is surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. The surrendered souls are called akuto bhaya. They have no fear. Without fear. Without fear. They are doubtless and fearless, and their entrance into the spiritual kingdom is guaranteed. 44. Etavaneva lokesmin pumsam nishresodayaha tivrena bhakti yogena manomai arpitam sthiram. Therefore, persons whose minds are fixed on the Lord engage in the intensive practice of devotional service. That is the only means for attainment of the final perfection of life. Tadapi mama shuddha eva bhakti sarvatah shrestha ityahe etavan. So even though there are those who engage in devotional service mixed with the processes of jnana and vairagya, as noted in text 43, the best form of Vishnu Bhakti is pure Vishnu Bhakti. The best form of devotional service to me is pure devotional service to me. With this in mind, Lord Kapila speaks the current verse. Itaha athikaha nishreyasa udayaha na eva kopyasti. There is nothing else which can bring about the attainment of the highest good, nishreyasa, or the final perfection of life. Kintu itaha nyuna eva sarva iti bhava. The implication is everything else is, every other process is under this process, is lower than this process. That is why it says that is the only means for attainment of final perfection of life, of the final perfection of life. That is the only means the intensive practice of devotion service is the only means. So every other process is inferior to this, means it should lead to this point, after which one will get liberation and so on. Tivrena, dridhena, jnana karma adibhihi abhangurena shuddhena ityartha. Tivrena means intense, intensive. Uh, this itself indicates that we are talking about that engagement in Vishnu Bhakti that is not fragmented or broken by engagement in other processes taught in Vedic Dharma, like jnana, karma, and so on. In other words, we are talking of pure Vishnu Bhakti. Ityartha, nishreyasasya, parama purusharthasya udayaha. It is this process which will give rise to nishreyasa, which means the highest purushartha or the highest highest goal of life, final perfection of life. Here the words manomai arpitam. Manomai arpitam. Manaha mai arpitam. The mind, what happened? What did I do? The mind being fixed in me. Steadily fixed in me. Which means the mind being fixed on me are significant. One should fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna or his incarnation. To be fixed steadily in that freedom is the way of liberation. Ambarish Maharaj is an example. He fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. He spoke only on the pastimes of the Lord. He smelled only the flowers and tulsi offered to the Lord. He walked only to the temple of the Lord. He engaged his hands in cleansing the temple. He engaged his tongue in tasting the foodstuff offered to the Lord. And he engaged his ears for hearing the great pastimes of the Lord. In that way, all his senses were engaged. First of all, the mind should be engaged at the lotus feet of the Lord, very steadily and naturally, because the mind is the master of the senses. When the mind is engaged, all the senses become engaged. That is Bhakti Yoga. Yoga means controlling the senses. The senses cannot be controlled in the proper sense of the term. They're always agitated. This is true also with the child. How long can he be forced to sit down silently? It is not possible. Even Arjuna said, Chanjalam hi manah Krishna. The mind is always agitated. The best course is to fix the mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. Manomai arpitam sthiram. Fix the mind in the Lord steadily. Therefore, persons whose minds are fixed on the Lord steadily, they are the ones who engage in the intensive practice of devotional service. If one seriously engages in Krishna consciousness, that is the highest perfectional stage. All Krishna conscious activities are on the highest perfectional level of human life. Chapter 26. Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, text 1. 25 is up. Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Atate sampravakshami tattvanam lakshanam prithak yad viditva vimuchyet purusha prakritair gunai. The personality of Godhead Kapila continued, My dear mother, now I shall describe unto you the different categories of the absolute truth, knowing which any person can be released from the influence of the modes of material nature. Sarat Darshini Shadvimshe Mahad Adinam Utpatti Lakshanam Tatha Tair Virat Tasya Chaitanya Muktam Atma Praveshataha. So in this chapter 26, the generation of Mahatattva and so on, there is a description of the characteristic way by which Mahatattva and the others develop. Then from that, the universal form, Virat Purusha, is manifested. So Virat Srishti happens. And then when the Supreme Lord himself enters into that Virat Purusha or the universal form, then that Virat Purusha attains consciousness, becomes conscious. The universe becomes enlivened. मात्रा पृष्ठेषु भक्ति ज्ञान योगेषु भक्ति मुक्त्वा मातरं तया एव कृतार्थीकृत्य अपि कर्म ज्ञान योग आदिभिः स्वर्ग मोक्षादि फलानां भक्त्या विना दातुम् अशक्यत्वात् तेषु अपि भक्ति महादेव्या अधिकारात् सर्वत्र साम्राज्यपत्याः तस्याः उपासकजनैः अपि कौतुकवशात् कर्म ज्ञान आदयः अपि जिज्ञासनीया एव इति साम्प्रतं ज्ञानं वक्तुमाह अथ इति. Now his mother, Devahuti, she had inquired about bhakti, jnana, and yoga. And then the Supreme Lord, Kapila Deva, he had spoken about bhakti. And that in that manner, he had made her successful. Still, because karma, jnana, yoga, and similar processes, they are not independent in providing the respective results of swarga, liberation, and so on, without uh, mixing it with Vishnu Bhakti. And there also, meaning in all these other processes, karma, jnana, yoga, there also the great goddess of bhakti, Vishnu Bhakti, she has the other processes are also under the control of this empress of this great goddess Vishnu Bhakti. So therefore, out of curiosity, even those who engage in the process of bhakti to worship the Lord, they might want to know about these other processes in Vedic karma, jnana, yoga. So for that sake, Lord Kapila, he begins this chapter in order to describe the process of jnana. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one can understand the Supreme Personality of God and the Absolute Truth only through devotion service. Bhaktya Mam Vijanati. As stated in the Bhagavatam, the object of devotion service is Mam, Krishna. And as explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, to understand Krishna means to understand Krishna in his personal form, with his internal energy, his external energy, his expansions, and his incarnations. There are many diverse departments of knowledge. And understanding Krishna, Sankhya philosophy is especially meant for persons who are conditioned by this material world. It's generally understood by the Parampara system or by disciplic succession to be the science of devotional service. Preliminary studies of devotional service have already been explained. Now the analytical study of devotional service will be explained by the Lord, who says that by such an analytical study, one becomes freed from the modes of material nature. By knowing which, any person can be released from the influence of the modes of material nature. Okay, just give me a minute. It is generally understood by the parampara system or by disciplic succession to be the science of devotional service. Preliminary studies. See, this is something that Prabhupada often uses as a conceptual tool.
So your volume is less,
Can you hear me now?
very less.
Why is it very less? Why is it less? I'm doing nothing. Now?
Same, same.
I did nothing. Anyway, let me continue. Prabhupada presents all the other processes as also Krishna Bhakti. Just that in the other processes, more time is given to the other activities. But the actual agent that brings about a spiritual development is nothing but the element of Krishna Bhakti or Vishnu Bhakti inside that process. So he presents Sankhya Yoga as also Vishnu Bhakti. This mode of presentation is also done by other Vaishnava acharyas. It is some of the other acharyas. Now the analytical study of devotion service will be explained by the Lord, who says that by such an analytical study, one becomes freed from the modes of material nature. The same assertion is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Ato mam tatvato gyam. Wow. By understanding the Lord according to various categories, one can become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. This is also explained here. By understanding the science of devotion service and Sankhya philosophy, one can become free from the modes of material nature. The eternal self, after becoming freed from the spell of material nature, becomes eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. As long as one has even a slight desire to enjoy or lord it over material nature, there is no chance of his being freed from the influence of nature's material modes. Therefore, one has to understand the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead analytically, as explained in the Sankhya system of philosophy by Lord Kapila Deva. Text 2. Jnanam nishreyasarthaya purushasya atmadarshana yadahurvarne tatte hridaya granthim bhedanam. Knowledge is the ultimate perfection of self-realization. I shall explain that knowledge unto you, by which the knots of attachment to the material world are cut. Nanu tattva-lakshana jnanena kim bhavishyati ityataha jnanati. What is the point of gathering knowledge about the various characteristics of the various tattvas or various elements, which are all derived from the Supreme Absolute Truth? That is dealt with in the current verse. Tattva-lakshana jnanadeva viviktatma jnanam bhavati iti bhava. The implication is, when one has knowledge about the characteristics of each element of existence, then one can have distinct knowledge of the self as being different from the non-self. The non-self means the body, subtle body, gross body, or the external world. Self means the experiencing person, the soul. It is said that by proper understanding of the pure self or by self-realization, one can be freed from material attachment. Knowledge leads one to attain the ultimate perfection of life and to see oneself as he is. The Shvetashvatar Upanishad also confirms this. Tam eva vidit, vati mritimeti. Simply by understanding one's spiritual position or by seeing oneself as he is, one can be freed from material entanglement. In various ways, the seeing of oneself is described in the Vedic literatures, and it is confirmed in the Bhagavatam, Purushasya Atma Darshanam, that one has to see oneself and know what he is. As Kapila Deva explains to his mother, this seeing can be done by hearing from the proper authoritative source. Kapila Deva is the greatest authority because he is the personality of Godhead. And if someone accepts whatever is explained as it is without interpretation, then he can see himself. Lord Chaitanya explained to Sanatana Goswami the real constitutional position of the individual. He said directly that each and every individual soul is eternally a servitor of Krishna. Jiver Swarup Krishner Nityadas. Every individual soul is eternally a servitor. When one is fixed in the understanding that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, and that his eternal position is to serve in association with the Supreme Lord, he becomes self-realized. This position of rightly understanding oneself cuts the knot of material attraction. Hridaya Granthi Bhedanam. Due to false ego or false identification of oneself with the body and the material world, one is entrapped by Maya. But as soon as one understands that he is qualitatively the same substance as the Supreme Lord, because he belongs to the same category of spirit, soul, and that his perpetual position is to serve, one attains Atma Darshanam. Atma Darshanam. Where is Atma Darshanam? Atma Darshanam. Self-realization. And Hridaya Granthi Bhedanam, which cuts the knots in the heart, by which the knots of attachment to the material world are cut. Self-realization. When one can cut the knot of attachment to the material world, his understanding is called knowledge. So this is what is called knowledge. Knowledge means to understand oneself without being attached to the material world. Atma Darshanam means to see oneself by knowledge. Therefore, when one is freed from the false ego by the cultivation of real knowledge, he sees himself and what is the ultimate necessity of human life. In other words, knowledge means, Koham, who am I? Kimidam Vishwam, what is this world of my experience? Avayo Dhruvam Katham, what is the nature of my relationship with this world? How did I come to this world? What do I have to do in this world? The answer to these questions is meant to be found in the domain of knowledge. This is what is called knowledge, not simply studying different aspects of the material world. Atma Darshana means to see oneself by knowledge. Therefore, when one is freed from the false ego by the cultivation of real knowledge, he sees himself, and that is the ultimate necessity of human life. The soul is thus isolated from the entanglement of the 24 categories of material nature. Pursuit of the systematic philosophic process called Sankhya is called knowledge and self-revelation. Text 3. Anadir Atma Purusho Nirguna Prakriti Paraha Pratyek Dhama Swayam Jyotir Vishwam Yena Samanvitam. Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Soul, and he has no beginning. He is transcendental to the material modes of nature and beyond the existence of this material world. He is perceivable everywhere because he is self-effulgent, and by his self-effulgent luster, the entire creation is maintained. Tatra Purusham Lakshayati. So first of all, he defines the Purusha. In Sankhya philosophy, the topics are Prakriti and Purusha. So first of all, he defines the Purusha. Anadihi, Nityaha, Atma, Paramatma eva Purushaha, Nirgunaha, Prakrita Guna Rahitaha. The eternal Atma is the Purusha. That means the Supreme Atma or the Paramatma, he is the Purusha. He alone is the Purusha. And he is Nirguna. That means he is devoid of material gunas. Yatah prakriteः parah, because he is superior to Prakriti. Prakriteः parah. Pratyak सर्वेन्द्रिय अगम्यम धाम कारणार्णव यस्य सः, because the abode in the form of the causal ocean, his abode in the form of the causal ocean is pratyak, which means it cannot be attained uh, through our material senses. So he has interpreted pratyak dhama in this manner. Ateva swayam jyoti swaprakasha, and therefore he is said to be self-effulgent. Swayam jyotishtve hetuhu. And why is he said to be swayam jyoti or swaprakasha? Vishwam yena samanvitam sat prakashate. The world itself is revealed to the conditioned souls because of his presence. Okay. Yes. Prakashate iti shesha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described as being without beginning. He is Purusha, Supreme Spirit. Purusha means person. When we think of a person in our present experience, that person has a beginning. This means that he has taken birth and that has a history from the beginning of his life. But the Lord is particularly mentioned here as Anadi, Anadihi, without a beginning. He has no beginning. Beginningless. If we examine all persons, we will find that everyone has a beginning, but when we approach a person who has no beginning, he is a supreme person. That is the definition given in the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, the Supreme Controller. He is without beginning, and he is the beginning of everyone. This definition is found in all Vedic literatures. The Lord is described as a soul, Atma, or spirit. What is the definition of spirit? Spirit is perceivable everywhere. Pratyak Dhama, another meaning of Pratyak Dhama, perceivable everywhere. Brahman means great. His greatness is perceived everywhere. And what is that greatness? Consciousness. We have personal experience of consciousness, for it is spread all over the body. In every hair follicle of our body, we can feel consciousness. This is individual consciousness. Similarly, there is super consciousness. The example can be given of a small light and the sunlight. The sunlight is perceived everywhere, even within the room or in the sky. But the small light is experienced within a specific limit. Similarly, our consciousness is perceived within the limit of our particular body, but the super consciousness or the existence of God is perceived everywhere. So he's perceivable everywhere means that he's present everywhere. Pratyak Dhama. Let me check. Wait, let me also check. What is it that Sastava explains? Pratyak Dhama. Antaspurtihi Jnana Rupaha. He is fully conscious and he can be perceived internally. Pratyak Dhama. Swaprakasha. Okay. There is. It is stated in the Vishnu Purana that whatever we find anywhere and everywhere is a distribution of the energy of the Supreme Lord. Tathaiva Akhilam Jagat. In Bhagavad Gita also, It is confirmed that the Lord is all pervading and exists everywhere by his two kinds of energy, one spiritual and the other material. 1 minute. One spiritual and other material. Both the spiritual and material energies are spread everywhere, and that is a proof of the existence of the Supreme Personality of God. The existence of consciousness everywhere is not temporary. It is without beginning. Because it is without beginning, it is also without end. The theory that consciousness develops at a certain stage of material combination is not accepted herein. For the consciousness which exists everywhere is said to be without beginning. The materialistic or atheistic theory stating that there is no soul, that there is no God, and that consciousness is the result of a combination of matter is not acceptable. Matter is not beginningless. It has a beginning. As this material body has a beginning, the universal body does also. And as our material body has begun on the basis of our soul, the entire gigantic universal body has begun on the basis of the Supreme Soul. The Vedanta Sutra says, Janmatyasya yataha. This entire material exhibition, its creation, its growth, its maintenance, and its dissolution, it's all is an emanation from the Supreme Person. In Bhagavad Gita also the Lord says, I am the beginning, the source of birth of everything. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described here. He is not a temporary person, nor does he have a beginning. He is without a cause, and he is the cause of all causes. Paraha means transcendental, beyond the creative energy. The Lord is the creator of the creative energy. We can see that there's a creative energy in the material world, but he's not under this energy. He is Prakriti Paraha, Prakriti Paraha, beyond this energy. He is not subjected to the threefold miseries created by the material energy because he is beyond it. The modes of material nature do not touch him. It is explained here, Swayam Jyotihi. He is light himself. We have experience in the material world of one light being a reflection of another, just as moonlight is a reflection of the sunlight. Sunlight is also the reflection of the Brahmajyoti. Similarly, Brahmajyoti, the spiritual effulgence, is a reflection of the body of the Supreme Lord. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Yasya Prabha Bhavataha. The Brahmajyoti or the Brahman effulgence is due to his bodily luster. Therefore, it is said here, Swayam Jyotihi. He himself is light. His light is distributed in different ways as the Brahmajyoti, as sunlight, and as moonlight. Bhagavad Gita confirms that in the spiritual world there is no need of sunlight, moonlight, or electricity. The Upanishads also confirm this because the bodily luster. What is this? Of the Supreme Personality of God, it is sufficient to illuminate the spiritual world. There's no need of sunlight, moonlight, or any other light or electricity. This self-illumination also contradicts the theory that the spirit soul or the spiritual consciousness develops at a certain point in material combination. The term Swayam Jyotihi, self-effulgence, indicates that there's no tinge of anything material or any material reaction. There's nothing material, nor is it produced by any material reaction. It is confirmed here that the concept of the Lord's all-pervasiveness is due to his illumination everywhere. We have experience that the sun is situated in one place, but the sunlight is diffused all over the millions and millions of miles. That is our practical experience. Similarly, although the Supreme Light is situated in his personal abode, Vaikuntha or Vrindavan, his light is diffused not only in the spiritual world, but beyond that. In the material world also, that light is reflected by the sun globe, and the sunlight is reflected by the moon globe. Thus, although he is situated in his own abode, his light is distributed all over the spiritual and material worlds. The Brahma Samhita 5.37 confirms this. Goloka eva nimasat kyatlatma bhutaha. He's living in Goloka, but still is present all over the creation. He's the super soul of everything, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he has innumerable transcendental qualities. It is also concluded that although he is undoubtedly a person, he is not a Purusha of this material world. Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand that beyond this material world there can be a person. Therefore, they are impersonalists. But it is explained very nicely here that the personality of God is beyond material existence. Okay, what is that in the chat box? What is that pastime the deity performing Shraddha? There is one place in Agradweep, which is nearby. It's in Navadip Mandal, where the deity promised to make an arrangement that he will perform Shraddha ceremony uh, on for that for a devotee. If I remember correctly, he did not have any son. Something to that effect. Govinda Ghosh. What is the meaning of unnatural sadhana bhakti? Unnatural or non-spontaneous sadhana bhakti. That can refer to Vaidhi sadhana bhakti because Raganuga sadhana bhakti is natural, spontaneous. That Vishnu Chakravarti describes it. And in the pathway of Vidhi Marga, in the pathway of rules and regulations, sadhana bhakti is not spontaneous until it comes to bhava bhakti platform. Whereas in raga marga, even sadhana bhakti is spontaneous. Okay, we'll stop it then. Anshadavrutarveshya vipasan vibheva cha patitāna pāvanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.